Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator.
He's back.
Ah, it feels so good to be back. I'm Russ Joy. Anthony SanFilippo's here. Intern Andrew making $900,000 apparently over on the ones and twos.
He's inside.
It is a big day here in Philadelphia Flyers land here at the Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah, I got to correct something. So, of all the things that I do on this show, of all the things I report and all the things
does all the things mean?
All the things that I report and all the things that I say on this show.
Okay.
The one criticism that I get from the team, okay,
Yeah.
is at the end of the last Press Row show.
Yes.
I talked about there's going to be a nice ceremony this morning to honor the late Jay Greenberg, Hall of Fame hockey writer.
Yep.
And I said in the postgame that they were naming the press box after him, and that was the thing that got the Flyers upset because they didn't rename the press box after him. They named Press Row after him.
Oh,
so my mistake.
All right, so hold on.
I was wrong.
Re-rack. Ooh, welcome into the Jay Greenberg Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show, the side of the Mississippi.
Yes.
South of the Arctic Circle, north of the
So it's the
equator.
Jay Greenberg, and it was a very nice ceremony. It was great to see some old hockey writers who showed up.
A lot of people up there.
Larry Brooks was here.
I saw Ray Didinger.
Ray Didinger was here.
I didn't say see Ray Didinger and Bill Meltzer together because we always say that,
Yes.
you know, Bill is the Ray Didinger of the Flyers.
Yes.
I've never seen the two men together. I think that there's too much Philly sports knowledge. The entire press row would collapse.
Yeah. That was really cool, though. It was a nice event, but my mistake was saying that they were naming the press box after him. So as you walk into the press box, it still says the Gene Hart Memorial Press Box. And then you walk about 12 more feet, and there's another wall with pictures that now says Jay Greenberg Press Row. So just to point out my error in reporting on the show. And I think of all the things that I report on this show, that was the one that the Flyers complained about. So just wanted to let you know.
Well, I'm glad somebody's holding you accountable.
Someone's got to hold me
accountable. Seems like nobody
right?
did the other night, but that's why they brought me back. They gave me a raise to come back.
You see this, Russ?
What?
Sam Rogers is tuning in from rural Alaska.
Sam, please define rural. I thought the entire state of Alaska is rural, but
where is rural Alaska?
Because there's a clear distinction there, right? Because there's Juneau.
There's the capital. And you have Anchorage, which is their biggest city. Yeah.
Those are the only two cities. Mystery. All right, so say there's 3 well-known towns in Alaska. What the hell
is rural?
Is rural?
I want to know. I'm excited for that one.
And for an Alaskan to call it rural,
yes,
you know, it's rural.
Yes.
Like how long would it take a
Guard Dog
Lifeline
37's checking in from Spain. That's another new one.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos al Press Row Show.
That's another new one. I love that we get people coming. We had somebody stop down from Rhode Island to visit us pregame. Brett and his wife, they came down. It was really nice to come visit us pregame. So they're here. Fans of the show who drove in 6 hours to come see the Flyers, but to see us as well.
Anthony got into it a little bit with some security. Not our security, the security up here who protect us and make sure that we're safe. They are fantastic people. But apparently there were some people who within the building were unaware that if somebody goes to Section 121 through the glass doors to the private elevators and says they're going to go up and see Snow the Goalie or the Press Row Show, there were some people who didn't know that. We're turning them away, but don't worry, we got that fixed. So if you're at Wells Fargo,
you should have heard our supervisor friend Jim on the CB. I mean, he was pretty adamant that if anybody wants to come see Snow the Goalie and they show up in that lobby, elevator lobby,
you let them up.
That they are to be allowed up here. 100%.
In these unprecedented times, you know that if there's one thing you can guarantee, it's that you can make your way up to the Press Row Show. Now, Liz, Eric Did It is checking in from Finland. We are everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Wait, Greg D'Ambrosio is at the beach. I want to know which beach.
I don't remember. Greg hates me and hates Joanne Burke. Yeah. He trolls me and calls me Russie on Twitter, and then goes
Louis,
after
Oxford. We were out there last year, Tony. It's not that remote.
Oh, Oxford, PA. No, that's pretty remote. La Sicilia is fantastic, but Oxford is very far. It's very, very far out of the way. So International's going to keep bringing up all the places. If there's anywhere that's like truly sensationally unique, by all means, like flag us. You can unmute yourself, International. We'll even let you pop onto pregame for a second. What you're like, and now he's unmuting. All right, go ahead.
What? I thought you were going to ask me something.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was saying if there's somebody who like checks in, like if somebody said they're like in Malta or something, flag us and get our attention. Because otherwise we have to start talking about hockey apparently. Because this is apparently a hockey show.
Apparently.
That's what I've learned. So welcome into the Press Row Show, where we're streaming on YouTube, X, and Facebook. If you're watching on X, be like, hold on, where's the person at? Because I just saw it. Be like Ty, who checked in over on X, knew to click the video first and then put the comment in.
Yes.
Like it's Periscope days. That's how your comment can then be pulled up. If you just reply to the video, we can't do anything with it. It won't show up. Ty asks, when do you expect Torts to be fired? I don't. I thought he would be. I thought that there was a chance here that if things kept going poorly, the Thanksgiving holiday might have been in play. They've now won 2 games back-to-back. They've looked okay in both of those games. They haven't been the most aesthetically pleasing games, but they've won back-to-back games. And it does seem like, for some reason, the team has maybe bought back in it, so we're just going to roll with it. But remember, we talked about this, Anthony. The difference between tuning a coach out and quitting on a coach, very different. You can tune out, but you can always tune back in.
Correct.
Just like people do every time here on the Press Row Show. They maybe tune out during the StatCast, but they tune back in for pregame, intermission, and postgame.
Yeah, no, it's you know what? I want to bring it up. Can you bring up Rob Ski's comment? And I want to get into the Flyers, and we will in a minute. But we have a half hour. But am I the only one who notices that Russ has a different appearance all of a sudden on this show? Like,
he said there were no glasses.
He's like a different person all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He's wearing flannel. He's got like floppy, bushy hair now that he doesn't. Usually it's much more styled.
Well, it's not
completely unshaven.
That part is just laziness.
Yeah, he's been wearing jeans lately instead of his chinos.
Well, I got sick of kind of classing up the joint. You've been wearing jeans for the 6 years we've been doing this thing.
Yeah,
together,
but that's been my look here since I've been covering the team. I never was, except for when I worked for the team when they required that I wore a suit. There was no time when I ever dressed up to cover hockey.
I wore a pink jacket on the first night. I got hell for it. I decided that I was going to go to Goodwill and get some more jackets. I didn't.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? If we're just going to go down here and we're going to talk Flyers and cause mayhem, then I'll wear jeans from time to time.
You should.
Now, in fairness, if we did a full zoom out, which we can't because intern Andrew can't be trusted.
Look at how it's a very lazy look you got going.
No, it's not a lazy look. It's a stylish look. I look like I'm about to go pick some pumpkins or maybe some apples with the family.
Yes.
The hair is wonderfully coiffed. I've decided to give it a day off of having product put into it. I have no work meetings today. We're going au naturel.
Yes.
Don't hair shame me, Mr. Pompadour.
Yeah, I know. It's good. Right. I got to get a cut again. I haven't gotten a cut since before the wedding. Anyway, no, but you're right about the Flyers. I mean, they've played better. And one of the things I think, and I can't wait to talk to Bundy about it a little bit, that we've seen the last couple of games, and I think we're going to continue to see them try to do tonight, is just do everything out of a defensive effort, right? They're gonna try and lock you down, take away the middle of the ice, block shots, a lot of shots, frustrate the other team, and try to be opportunistic offensively. They're not going to try and get anything real sustained offensively, maybe except if you get a chance on a power play. They're not. They need to figure out their forecheck a little bit. They need to figure out their offensive puck support a little bit. But until they do, they feel like they can do this thing that they did. If you remember, beginning of December last year, they had like an 8-game stretch where they were like 7-0-1.
Yep.
And they were blocking shots like you wouldn't believe. And remember, we talked about it. We said, this is great, but is this sustainable over an 82-game season?
It was not.
And it turned out we were right. It's not. But for a while, they built up some they built up some cash.
Cachet?
No, well, cachet and cash are two different words.
Oh, okay.
Cachet is a collection of something. Cash, C-A-C-H-E, is having like the gravitas. Is having cash.
Not sure about that, but okay.
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. C-A-C-H-E versus
I've always known cash is where there's a crate of things, like a collection.
Yeah.
Cachet is something that you build up over time. That's the gravitas.
Okay.
Somebody check us. Fact check us.
Whatever.
The last time Ant and I got in an argument about language, he screamed at me in front of the entire press row,
Point.
called over Rob Parent, and ended up being wrong. So I would love for the viewers and listeners out there. Let's get into hockey.
Yeah, but the point is that they feel like they can do the same thing to kind of get themselves back into the into the mix. If you're looking at you got to remember the coach and the players, they want to win, they want to be in the playoffs, they want to try and do what they're going to do, and those are the things that they're going to continue to effort to make happen. While upstairs, what might look at it from a more 30,000-foot view and say, having a down year might not be the worst thing in the world. I mean, they're obviously not going to tell the players that. They're not going to tell the coach that. But the coach and players are going to try and win. And so John Tortorella's approach here is to really button it up defensively. They did it by shutting out the Bruins the other night, who, by the way, have really struggled. They got blown out by Carolina, too. And they looked – they were walking in when I was walking in, and every guy looked pissed off.
Really?
Yeah, every Bruins player looked pissed off today. I don't know why. I don't know if they, had a bad trip in or whatever, but they were walking into the building with scowls on their faces. They looked angry. But then they did it again the other night to St. Louis, who's not a great team, but they limited them. I think you're going to try and see the Flyers do that again today. The question is, how will Boston react, knowing that this is how the Flyers are going to play after they just did it on Tuesday? And I think that's where the rubber meets the road a little bit in this game today.
There's some good news that came out of Flyers land this week. It depends on how much you put into this kind of thing. I tend to put a good amount of it in, right, because it's a league-wide award. But Matvei Michkov was awarded Rookie of the Month for the month of October. A nice little accolade if you were keeping track of these things going into the season. Most of the sports books had Matvei Michkov as the favorite to win the Calder Trophy. Had a nice month. Now, in fairness, the other night, the first game that I wasn't here, Tortorella decided to bench Michkov for a brief moment. He knew better than to do that when I'm here, but when I'm not, he benches Michkov.
It was only for
two shifts, three shifts.
Yeah.
And then explained after the game, by the way, in a perfectly acceptable way. We always had this question, right? Like we said in the offseason, there will come a time where Michkov will get benched. It's a matter of how does he perform after that, and how does the coach message that to the fans. And I think everything that he said was totally fair. And we have noted on this show that Michkov at even strength has not looked the same as Michkov on the power play, but then you also kind of chalk that up to he's a 19-year-old kid in his first season in the NHL, hasn't even played. Well, he's played 11 games, 12 games.
Right.
And these things are to be expected, and it seems like he bounced back from that. He certainly didn't sulk.
No, not at all. And the reality,
he's wired differently in a good way.
And that is a good thing. And the reality of it is, look, the league recognized this is a league award, and it's not like a big deal, right? A Rookie of the Month. Okay, fine. So in the first month of your first season in the sport, you are the best guy, and it was close. I mean, I thought Logan Stankoven had probably just as good a month as Michkov did, and you can have a good debate on that. But yeah, it's a nice award, and it's deserving because he's been productive. He hasn't been, a deer in headlights with playing at the NHL level, and that's a good thing, right? I mean, yes, there are some mistakes, and you got to expect that with a 19-year-old kid playing for the first time here. But he's not. The moment's not too big for him. Let's put it that way. And so that's certainly a positive for Michkov, and good for the Flyers as well.
It ultimately, I think, shows just how much his ability to change things for this team on a fundamental level, where he's getting top-line minutes, where he is producing on the power play. It kind of speaks to the accomplishment to this point, and that it's not just something where we are a city that's pretty notorious for overrating our own players. We've talked about this before. In Philly, a lot of times we see a young player, we get really excited, we sell ourselves on the idea that they're going to be the next big thing. It doesn't come to fruition. In the case of Michkov, it's at least a nice showing from across the league. They're like, no, it's being picked up. Like, he looks like a stud. He really does.
Yeah, no, he does. I mean, there's a lot to like about the way he's played. And, for all the criticisms that you can make of the Flyers to start this season with their lack of offense, it certainly can't point a finger at Michkov. I mean, yeah, he could be better at 5-on-5. There's no question. But he's not been a worry. Like, I look at this team and I say, top-line guys have brought it most nights, and that's Michkov, Konechny, Couturier.
Yeah.
Right? Those three have done a nice job. I think the fourth line the last couple games have played really well. I think Paling and Hathaway especially have looked really good. Since putting Sanheim and Ristolainen together after Cam York got hurt, they've been excellent as a pairing. It's 4 games. It's a small sample, but Sanheim and Risto look really, really good together. And I wouldn't be surprised if once Cam York comes back, if they maybe try and keep that going as long as they keep playing well together, right? Those are all good signs. I think it's a good sign. I think Emil Andre has had a couple of, encouraging outings here since he's been put into the lineup. Ersson bounced back from a bad game against Minnesota and had 2 good games this week. So there are positives. But then you look at the middle 6 of the lineup. You look at some of the other defensemen, and you sit there and go, yeah, they're just not – they're not where they need to be. And some of them not even close to where they need to be. And that's got to be a concern because you're now, an eighth of the way through the season, pretty much. And
big bug.
It was a big bug. I saw it. And they're not there. And it's one thing to have a slump for 3 games, 4 games. It's another thing to slump for 11, 12, right? Like, these guys have to start playing better because it's still an evaluation. I know it seems weird with some of these guys because they've been here a few years, but it's still an evaluation in a sense of, do we want to commit to these guys being part of this team going forward beyond this season? And they're making decisions right now. So, I don't know.
I want to really quick go back to Michkov for a second because I don't know if you guys talked about this the other night, but Scott Hartnell had a quote, and now I eviscerated him over on Crossing Broadcast on Thursday for this quote. I can't use the colorful language that I did. I said that he needed to shut the front door, we'll say. But I do want to go to this quote from Scott Hartnell from the other night because Matvei Michkov tried Michigan. And let me go to this.
It's there. I can see it.
I just wanted to go to this one. It got rid of that top bar. So Scott Hartnell, who was not known as being a very skilled player when he played here. He was an energy guy. He fell down a lot. He scored goals. He made things happen. Was a fan favorite, had floppy hair, but certainly was not the offensive kind of player that Matvei Michkov is or projects to be. Was never a highly touted player. He said, quote, "Stupid is the right word, maybe. Risky? Yeah, I saw that. There's a time and a place for that. We saw it last game where there was a chance to pass to Konechny right in the middle of the slot. He's trying to do his fancy move, that one. If he goes around the net, he can bump past to the defenseman, point shot, guy heads to net. Instead of feeding your teammates, it's like, oh, look at me, I can do this at full speed."
You have a problem with Hartnell's analysis on this?
It's an absolute BS, stupid comment that never should have been made.
No,
it is so wildly off base.
And I'm glad we were agreeing on Penn State before the game because we're going to disagree again right now.
This is a legitimately dumb take.
No, it's not.
It is.
And you know why it's not?
Oh, here we go.
I'll tell you why it's not a dumb take.
Why?
Because, first of all, it's not the full quote. It's most of the quote. And there's a little bit more context. He was talking about it in the context of it being a 1-0 game at that time.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
In a 1-0 game at that time, it's not the right move to try and do something fancy. The right thing is to try and include your teammates and get the goal and get a 2-goal lead. And doing something that's more low percentage that makes you look good just because you can is not winning hockey. So that's why Scott Hartnell's criticizing it. If the game is 3-0 or 4-1 and you try that move and it doesn't work, it's fine and nobody really talks about it.
Yeah, I don't view that as a look at me, look what I can do. I view that as a trying to make something happen and you're putting something on tape essentially that is something that an opposing team has to account for.
Yeah, but that's fine. But first of all, you can't really account for that. I mean, like,
it's just an added element. Like, we already know that Michkov is very dangerous behind the net. It's another element. I think the reason that I had a visceral reaction to it when I saw it for the first time is that he also tied in the play in the slot. The pass to the slot. It was that no-look pass where Konechny was directly in the slot. The puck hits exactly where Konechny is. Konechny can't handle it because he's not used to having somebody who can make that kind of play. I just looked at that and I said, like, no, those plays aren't just like a look at me, I'm trying to like act like it's the NBA All-Star game. It's the guy's trying to make plays happen. And in a lot of cases, especially in that pass to the slot, which Hartnell did tie it into, that's a pass that these guys aren't used to having because there haven't been that many highly skilled players on this team.
No, but the point is, Russ, is that it's still a team game. And as a 19-year-old, you should not be trying to put the game on your shoulders in that spot because it's not necessary in that spot. Again, it's a time and place thing. It's not that you shouldn't ever try that move. It's not that you shouldn't ever show off your skill and put that thought into the opponent's head. It's a time and place issue that I think Hartnell has with the play, and I tend to agree with it in that instance. I have no problem if Matvei Michkov wants to pull off a Michigan, and whether it's successful or not, but do it at a time in a game that makes the right sense. Don't do it in a time in a game because it doesn't work there, and they immediately come back in the other direction. Granted, it doesn't hurt them, but it can, and you can have momentum swing really, really fast on what is really a selfish play.
I wouldn't call it a selfish
play. But it is. But it is a selfish play. Because that's not hockey. The game, the structure of.
We have John Tortorella from what is that? 2021 John Tortorella?
No, you're missing. No, Russ. The point is there is a structure that the forwards are playing. There is a system that they are playing, and your other forwards are in support of the puck in a certain spot on the ice, expecting a hockey play, and you're doing something completely improvisational that, if it doesn't work, could catch your forwards in a bad spot, and now you have a rush going the other direction. That's why it's a problem.
I have watched forwards on this team get stuck behind the net trying to make stupid passes into the slot that don't work, and the play goes the other way. It still amounts to a forward is sitting behind the net as the puck goes the other way.
Yes, but if your mistake is built out of the structure that you're playing, that's fine. That happens in the sport. The sport is a sport of turnovers and mistakes and whatever. But if you're forcing something, if you're creating it's an unforced error, that's going to piss off your coach. It's going to piss off your teammates because they're all doing it a certain way and you're doing it a different way. That's the problem with doing it.
He's doing it a different way because he's the only one who could pull it off.
You're missing the point,
so
Russ.
intern Andrew's jumping in. Here we go. Okay.
No, you don't have to put it on screen. One quick question. What is an appropriate time for him to do that then? Like, what's the scenario?
Apparently when they're up 5-0.
No. Look, you can take a risk on doing something like that when the spread is a bigger spread, yes. But also you have to have awareness of where your teammates are on the ice when it happens, right? So if you have two other forwards that are pinching in low and you try that play and it doesn't work, and now all of a sudden you've created a 3-on-2 or a 4-on-2 the other way, that's a mistake for your team no matter how you slice it. If you have a third man high and only one other forward is down low and you try and it doesn't work, okay, well now you got three men back, it's not so bad. It's more of a situational awareness thing than it is about the score. But in that case, it's a 1-0 game, so you know it's nip-tuck, first of all. And then secondly, you have two other forwards low on the play, and it creates an odd man rush the other direction. So that's why it's a bad play in that moment. And that's why Hartnell calls it stupid.
I'll tell you what. If this team were a team that had high expectations and it were a critical game and it really did matter, if the Flyers were trying to battle for a playoff spot, right, and they got to the end of the season, and it's a three-way race for the final playoff spot, and Matvei Michkov tries that in a 1-0 game in Boston, and it goes the other way, and they lose the game, and fine. It was like what the 11th. It was what the 11th game of the year.
Okay, so my point is to you, Russ. Let's just say.
And by the way, I do stand in a little bit of opposition here about the players not like knowing what could happen or what he could do. We have seen throughout training camp, throughout the preseason, and in warmups that like there are times situationally where he has tried that in practice, and where some of these passes that he is trying, he has done with the team. It is part of that building chemistry.
So here's the other thing, Russ, and it's not necessarily just about Michkov, right?
Sure.
Because really, the reality of it is, if any player tries to do anything cute, and a lot of times we've seen it enough on the power play now, where guys like Owen Tippett are trying to make like a cute move, and he shoots wide of the net, right? And the puck comes out the other side, and you get an odd man rush coming back at you. Well, that's a mistake too. Right? Yeah. So you can't sit there and say, well, these mistakes we're going to condemn, But this one we're going to let go just because he's a skilled player and he can make that play happen.
I mean, like,
there has to be a team accountability for it, right? So that's where I'm trying to say. Again, I don't have a problem with the play in and of itself. It was the moment when it happened and the situation that the team was in at the time. And to criticize him for it, I think is a fair criticism if you're going to criticize other players for similar mistakes, maybe not on a Michigan play.
Well, I think it all just kind of comes down to then, like, yes, there are different thresholds for what you find acceptable, right? Like, if Garnet Hathaway tried that, we'd say, what are you doing, right? And that is a different threshold. Like, it's supposed to be. That's not what he's here to do. That's not the kind of skill anybody thinks he has. No offense to Garnet Hathaway. Maybe he can execute in Michigan. He's just never done it. But, like, there is a certain different kind of standard. Like, there are different things that you allow even veteran players to do. There are certain times where, like, a coach says, no, on a cross-ice pass that a veteran makes because he knows how to do it and he's able to execute it versus, like, if Cam York were to try it and it gets intercepted and goes back the other way for an odd man rush. Like, yes, there are different thresholds that I think you can put into place where you say, like, yeah, we're going to live with that.
Can you live with, so I'll give you an example of living with certain things. Like, you live with, and you remember Torts talked about this a couple years ago with Konechny, right? You live with the fact that he makes some mistakes in the in the defensive zone because of what he does for you in the offensive zone, right? So there are things that you learn to live with. That's fine, and that's understandable, and certain players have that, right? But at the same time, what you're doing here is a very individualized play. It's not trying to do something with the rest of your team.
Can I ask a question? Conceptually.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the difference between... Hear me out.
Go ahead, because I'm going to ask you something conceptually, too.
What is the difference between Matvei Michkov trying the Michigan, going on the higher end of the net, and it not going in, versus Travis Konechny trying a wraparound, where positionally they end up on the side of the net, facing outward, where they could go join the rush if it goes the other way? What is the difference between the low wraparound attempt and Michkov trying the Michigan when he still ends up positionally in the same spot on the ice? And neither attempt goes in the net. What is the difference?
Every play is different, right?
No, but what's the difference?
No, a wraparound is the puck. The puck is on the ice, right? The goalie's probably making a save and covering it up. It's right at his feet. It's a little bit different.
Or you're poking it away and maybe there's a rebound.
Right.
Okay.
Or goes to the corner or something.
Yeah.
Off to Michigan, if you're not putting it in, that's a hard wraparound in the air.
Yeah.
Goalie makes a save. It's out in front. Go defenseman get it going.
Or it falls off the stick and it
could.
And
there's so many things that can happen. Right? I mean, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
See, but
here's the conceptual. But here's the conceptual question I have for you.
Sure.
Why is this a thing? Because it's the Michigan. Because it's a play that's a highlight. Because it's ooh, wow, look at that great, incredible play that guy can make because he's so incredibly awesome and skilled. Just freaking score the goal. I don't care how you score it.
Well,
I don't care if it goes in off somebody. I don't care if it goes in off somebody's ass. It's a goal.
Excuse me, sir. We have to watch the language here on the.
I think we can say ass.
Can we?
You said dick the last time. I think we can say ass.
Well, Dick Cheney was a vice president of these United States.
So, that's my point. Like, it doesn't have to be cute. It doesn't have to be pretty.
Yeah, but
that's the only reason we're even talking about this.
I look at it and I say, like,
that's the only reason we're even discussing this.
I think it's like almost taboo for some people because it's not a play that everyone can execute. A wraparound goal is something that, like, in theory, virtually every NHL player can attempt and at some point in their career convert. Michigan's a little bit different. I mean, like, again, I think the reason that I had the reaction to it that I did when I saw it, because on Thursday I saw it live for the first time, I hadn't seen it before, is tying it to the attempted pass, the no-look into the slot where it's right there to Travis Konechny, who just can't handle it and pop it on net. I think that there's a skill argument to be made here. And I do think that when you have a guy who has the kind of ability, an individual ability that Michkov does, you are going to see some of those kind of plays.
Bundy, this
happen.
Is perfect timing.
Okay.
Perfect timing for you because we've been having about a 10-minute debate.
Which is good for pregame.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, it's good to see you, Bundy.
Good to see you guys, too.
I don't know if you saw the other night when they were playing Boston post-game. Scott Hartnell criticized Matvei Michkov trying the Michigan goal, right? it was a 1-0 game at the time, led to it doesn't score, leads to a breakout by Boston the other direction. Now, obviously, Boston doesn't score either, but, Torts probably wasn't very happy with it. Hartnell called it a stupid play at that time and in that situation. Russ is having a meltdown about it, saying that if you're a skilled player, you should be allowed to go do that at any time.
I disagree with that. I don't want to. I wouldn't categorically agree with how Scotty Hartnell said that, and I haven't seen him or talked to him.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a guy who's played 10 games in the league. He's a skilled player. We haven't seen any kind of form of skill around here since Giroux left, and even 3 years before Giroux left. I don't have a problem with him trying it, but time, place, and score is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
If you're up 5-1 and things are going good, why not? But in a game like that, Russ, I don't necessarily agree with it. He's done a couple things. I've watched him closely from after the road trip. He's got a lot to learn about the in-game stuff that goes on. He was arguing with a ref the other night that got him on the back of the bench, I think. That play that he's tried that Michigan a couple times. I don't mind seeing skill. I love seeing skill.
Yeah.
But you have to do it at the right place in the right time of the game.
And my argument back, just to let Bundy, weigh in here, because if I'm wrong, I want him to say it too. And my argument has been twofold too, Bundy, is that one, your team is playing a specific structure in the offensive zone, and so you have players that are expecting the play to go a certain way, and all of a sudden he's improvising there, and it kind of puts them in a weird spot, right? And so then secondarily, if you have a player who does something cute elsewhere, maybe tries to make like an unnecessary move or an unnecessary pass when a shot or whatever would be a better choice. If we're going to hold them just as accountable for that fancy play, then you need to hold Michkov as accountable for trying a Michigan in that spot as well.
Yeah, and again, systemically, it's not what you want, because it's not. There's no play in hockey that has the Michigan play design. I can't believe we call it the Michigan play. But that's what it's known as.
That was the first goal.
First goal we ever seen like that. But I mean, but again, I'm just more about the time, place, and the score of the game, and your teammates. Anthony's right. Systematically, you're not going to really ever be aware or ready for something like that.
Well, although the point that I made back to him is, positionally, Bundy, when a guy tries, let's compare this to Travis Konechny trying a wraparound. Your body positioning ends up being in the same place, right? You still end up along the side of the cage. The puck is either going to end up dead on the crease, right? Because in the case of a wraparound, he's either going to potentially cover it, maybe you go wide, maybe it's a rebound. On the Michigan, it's either going to get stopped by the goalie or it's going to fall off your stick and it's going to dead in there. But your body position is the same. You're still facing oftentimes up ice, that if the puck does go the other way on a counter, you're still able to be clear and free to go.
Or the puck gets frozen, Russ, and the play's over.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it can happen either way with the Michigan.
You're really not freezing a Michigan. How are you freezing a Michigan? The puck's up in the air.
Well, I'm saying if it falls off the stick.
Okay. More likely to freeze a puck that's on the ice.
I think that there's just more of a taboo thing to it because not that many players attempted or are able to execute. But we have to get the predictions in.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have the tweet going out right now. Really quick, I saw Bundy said 3-2 Flyers.
Yes, 3-2 Flyers for me, yes.
And
I'm going the opposite of that. I'm going 3-2 Bruins. I think Boston responds after what happened the other night.
Flyers and Bruins 27th and 28th in the league in goals against average this year. High-scoring game. I'll go Bruins 5-3.
Wow. I'm going to say the Bruins get some revenge tonight, or this afternoon. 4-2 Bruins.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I saw them walking in the building. Bundy, you didn't hear me say this. I walked in the same time as the Bruins did, and they just looked miserable, pissed off, and angry after getting spanked by Carolina and shut out by the Flyers. I think that they're going to have one of those games where it's like, we need to respond today.
Sometimes, though, I'll just tell you, there's games where you think that it's going to be easy and it's just your night. I don't think Boston's there yet. That's what I'm betting on the other side with the Flyers.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. One of us is going to be right and the other is going to be wrong, and that's okay.
Yep.
All right, time for us to roll. We'll be back first intermission, second intermission, and post-game show here on the Snow the Goalie YouTube channel, Facebook, and X. We'll talk to you soon.
See, look at that guy. Sapphire.
Welcome back into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. Flyers outshot 14-5 in the first period.
Not good.
It was not a good period. Travis Sanheim tries to make something happen. Puck kind of goes the other way. We see the Bruins get the opportunity to cycle the puck. Puck hits the board, comes back out. They bury it. Now, I was paying attention to that. I was making a joke about how somebody's trying to make a skillful play there. And I looked to Intern Andrew, and he's not even paying attention because Intern Andrew...
You should put his expression up on the screen.
...is more focused right now...
It's a fireable offense, too.
...on Penn State, Ohio State, which, as many people have probably seen already on Twitter, we put out our predictions. We can't put them up now because there's a bad word in it. We can't do that on the Press Row Show. But, Intern Andrew, can you give everybody an update? How are your boys, Penn State, looking against Ohio State? And then we'll get into the hockey talk.
It is currently 14-10 Ohio State. Penn State just threw an interception in the end zone. Not great, but it could be a lot worse. I think Ohio State has controlled the line of scrimmage for most of it, but we're still in it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It was about 16 seconds left in the first half.
Something like that, yeah.
Little toss to the corner of the end zone. Penn State receiver has it in his hands. Ohio State rips it away and gets a foot inbounds, and it's a turnover. To end the half. Boy, what could have been a great play for Penn State. It goes sideways.
Do you want to just get to my stat then? Because it's loosely related to Penn State.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
So is it about an overrated coach once again underperforming in a big game? No? Okay.
Nope.
All right, let's go.
So the last time that Penn State beat Ohio State was October 22nd, 2016. I was at the game. I was a junior. That was the game Ohio State was ranked #2. Marcus Allen blocks the field goal. Grant Haley scoop and score. Penn State wins. We stormed the field, actually. And I remember thinking in the moment, I'm never going to get a chance to do this again. And I just started ripping up grass by the handfuls and stuffing them in my pocket. So I brought with me the Beaver Stadium grass.
Wait a second.
Oh my God,
and they let that in the building?
It looks like he's got a dime bag of
Like
weed.
It does, like a dime bag. I was about to say the same thing.
Oh my God.
Dude, that looks like...
Why?
You can sell that outside.
It is Beaver Stadium grass from that night.
It's grass, all right.
It's going to... I'm trying to will them to a win. I'm trying to will them to a win.
Well, that's a really, really sick story.
Here's the thing. The Flyers also played and won that night. It was a 6-3 win over Carolina. Jake Voracek, I believe, was the first star of that game. He had 2 goals and an assist. So it's going to bring good juju for both the Flyers and for Penn State. Now, also in the world of sports, that same night, do you remember what happened, Dan?
October 22nd, 2016?
Yes.
I believe that's the night that the Chicago Cubs won the World Series.
Close.
Ooh.
They won the pennant.
Oh, they won the pennant. Okay.
They clinched the pennant that year. They beat the Dodgers in Game 6.
Was that the answer you were looking for?
It wasn't a trivia question. It's a stat of the day.
yeah.
Trivia's next period.
So that's
Yeah.
where I'm at right now.
Good stuff, Andrew.
This is a really stressful game.
What would you do if someone burned that grass today at the game?
That'd be a real D move.
Don't
I
worry.
thought about taking it and throwing it in the trash.
That would be
but then,
an F move. But you never know what can happen down
That'd be
here.
a real Richard move.
Intern Andrew, you single right now? Because I just saw a few lovely ladies, and I bet if you showed them that you're part of the show and you had whatever that is in your bag, we can give you the rest of the game off.
That's the Beaver Stadium grass.
I have magic grass. Magic grass right here, baby.
Let's get to the hockey. Let's get to the
All
hockey.
right.
All right, we're back at it.
What did you say? It was
Intern
14-5 shots on goal Boston, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yes.
All right, let's pick up where we left off.
Well, the big story of the day so far is Sam Ersson leaving the game.
Thought it was a skate at
It
first.
looked like it looked like they were
yeah.
repairing his skate blade at the first stoppage, and then the second stoppage, he was standing off to the side, talking to the trainer, and Kolosov starts warming up, and we're like, are they really going to take him out for an equipment issue? Like maybe this will be fast, it'll be in and out kind of thing. And then he went down the tunnel and didn't come back. Still waiting on an update. Haven't heard anything from the Flyers. I've texted a couple people to try and get an answer. No response yet. That's never a good thing. Usually if it was equipment, they would probably respond right away. So
Here you
we'll
go.
see.
Ryan A says that on the TV feed, it looked like he rolled his eyes, shook his head like he was.
I'm not gonna diagnose any head injuries.
I don't talk about anything like that.
Yeah,
So.
I'm not going to diagnose that. I mean, what it looks like on TV is not always, sometimes is, but it's not always what it ends up being. So, and that's a fair question, Matt. Possible. Maybe the skate blade caused something to happen. I don't know. We'll see. As soon as we get an update, we will absolutely share it with everyone. And it's an interesting thing because one of the things I wanted to talk about pregame, and we got so derailed by Russ and his Michigan conversation. You know, the Flyers have been carrying 3 goalies, Bundy. You know, Fedotov certainly is third on the depth chart at this point. It's never a good spot to be in to have 3 goalies, as you know, right? It kind of disrupts their flow in practice too, right?
They don't like it either.
They don't like it. So the team doesn't really want to have 3 goalies, but they also don't want to put him through waivers just yet. So I was told not prior to today, but the other day after the game Thursday, that the plan was to get Fedotov onto a conditioning assignment, which by the CBA the player has to agree to.
Okay.
All right, but if the player agrees to it, which they anticipate he would, he'd be able to go down to the Phantoms for 14 days. If you time it right and you look at the Phantom schedule, they have 6 games in the span of 10 days beginning next Wednesday.
Okay.
So they would be able to play him probably 4 games down there in those 6, and really get him a chance to see what he looks like, to see if he can start to improve his game, and whether it's worth bringing him back up or actually putting him through the waiver process or whatever. And also probably get Kolosov a game or 2, the plan was, in that time as well. And really kind of, it was a smart idea to punt just to kind of see what would happen. Well, now that might be out the window if there's an injury here to Sam Ersson. Like if Ersson is hurt or something and he needs to be out of the lineup, you need both of those
thought
goalies.
Last year, right, that we'd be in a situation where you'd have both Kolosov and Fedotov as the 2 goalies. And that's where we are right now, depending on what the situation is with Ersson. I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
His blade came off his skate. They went out and replaced it. They played another shift or 2, and then he elected to come out of the game as he was talking to the referee and the trainer. That's all I can tell you. We have no update at all on anything regarding that.
I've got nothing yet. Like I said, the fact that I haven't gotten, because I said, hey, let me know if it's just a equipment-related thing. I'll be sure to put it out there and say, hey, don't worry, guys, it's just something equipment-related. And I haven't gotten a response. So that tells me it's probably not equipment. But we'll see.
I mean, I have a thought on this. I won't go there because it'll derail the show, so I'll just keep it to myself. But I don't think that Rory is being serious, but the idea of bringing up Cal Peterson, absolutely not.
No.
Can I sell you guys on the idea that, obviously you don't want Ersson to be hurt. You certainly don't want him to miss a lot of games here. Can we make the case that, in theory, having Fedotov and Kolosov maybe be able to exchange a few games here and there
for
a week or so?
To.
I'm just saying, in theory, is that really the worst thing in the world?
No, I mean
again, you don't want Ersson to be hurt. The goal.
No, of course not. But we don't know the situation, Russ. So we don't. I just don't like speculating on an injury because I have no idea what that might have been.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But there's part of me that says, hey, you know what? Cool. In theory, you have 2 guys that need to get some starts, and if Ersson's okay or he's only out for a game or 2, then you do what Ant says, send Fedotov down to get 4 or 5 starts with the Phantoms, and then maybe Kolosov gets into a couple of games. I think ultimately, everything is an evaluation. It would be, on one hand, it's actually kind of potentially helpful to see what these guys could look like with a little bit of playing time.
Yeah, I do. I would, again, I don't want to speculate, and so I'm not going to, but I would tell you that if this was not something injury-related, we would have heard by now. If it was something...
So if it's an equipment thing, you think we would have heard by now that,
that if it was an equipment issue, he'll be back in the second period, but don't worry about it. We would have heard that by now.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit too long for it to not be an equipment issue. That's
interesting.
Again, it's not really speculation, but...
It's kind of speculation.
A little bit, maybe. A little bit, maybe.
Or Ivan Fedotov's fingerprints all over that skate. All right, let's continue. So that was a pretty rough period, in fairness. Bundy, what did you see in that first that the Flyers didn't execute well, that they did better in Boston in that 2-0 win? Is there something that they just failed to do?
Mitigating shots and chances in tight. I mean, they were okay. They weren't too bad, but Boston, As Anthony said, they're a ticked-off hockey team, and they have a real focus on defending hard, on doing everything hard. Everything Boston's doing in this game so far has been strong and hard. The Flyers are trying to mitigate some of the damage, but they got severely outshot that period. That'll be one of the things. Again, Russ, the Flyers have to figure out how to play in the offensive zone and have proper puck support to sustain a cycle. That's how you win hockey games. You wear the other team down a little bit, something opens up, you score a goal. So they need to be better at that, and that's certainly one thing in this period I'll be looking for.
I don't want to derail the show, but I'm going to put this up on the screen anyway, just because I want Bundy to talk about what, because these are things that don't get talked about. Somebody suggested hopefully Ersson just had to poop. Bundy, I'm sure there have been times in games where players had to go to the bathroom.
One time in my life.
Yeah.
That I have a number 2 staring me down. That's like over 1,000 times on the ice.
One time?
Just one time. I don't know what happens if you have to go pee, you have to go pee. That happens. But the rear end stuff, it doesn't happen as often, if you believe it or not.
There you go.
So I hope I answered that okay.
Well, no, I'm just curious.
I'm asking a question about number 2.
I'm just curious. Like, does that happen? Like,
look out for number 1, but don't step in number 2.
I'm just curious if that, like, guys ever say, hey, I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom real quick.
It's very rare. I don't know if it's something like just that your body's flowing and you got juices going through it.
Yeah.
Number 1, yes, that happens, but usually wait till the period. I've never had anybody ever leave the bench to go pee.
Okay, I was just curious. Just curious if that ever happened. There we go.
All right,
it's
great question.
Good thing they wear black on the bottom.
Russ, how would he say that? I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go, number 2, but sometimes it is a poop. It depends on the type of poop too, Bundy. Sometimes you can just drop scatter shot. It is okay, but if it is
I hope I
a big one.
The one thing.
It depends. Is it scatter shot or is it a Bundy bomb?
Back
is it F5 Stinger?
It's got Bundy. Sometimes if you are out on ice and you had Taco Bell night before, you have something that looks more like a.
No, but back to the game. The one thing, and look, Boston looked determined at the start of this period.
Yeah, they did. You called it.
Right?
I knew they would be.
They really looked determined coming in here. And credit, like, Ersson was really good before he went out of the game. He made a couple of really big saves that kind of kept it in 0-0 for a while, because I look at your face.
I'm reading the comments now. We have we have Flyers in 7. Actually, like telling people, like, any of you fools that ever played a game know that when you start the game, you don't ever have to take a dump. I'm just reading that, and I can't take my eyes off it.
I love when we take the show down a path that never is expected to go down, right?
I caught all kinds of slander. My good name was besmirched on Halloween. And I come back, and it's all talks about poop. This is what we have been left with.
Anthony had to ask that question.
I was brought up. It was a fan's
Hey, while we're at it,
ask.
do we talk about what happens after we get done recording every Snow the Goalie? Do we no? Okay.
No.
So
we don't have to do that.
Let's not do that. So this one. Flyers in 7 in Russia. Taco eats you. All right. Let's try to bring it back.
Oh, please, let's bring it back.
I don't know how we can.
Let's bring it back.
I mean, sometimes you just need to laugh.
Yes, you do.
And sometimes you just need to laugh.
After that period, I think everybody could have used a laugh, and that's why people come to the number 1 rated pregame instrument.
It wasn't a great period, like, for them,
no.
and just in general.
It was not.
Even in their own end, Bundy. Like, one of the things that they had done well the last 2 games, we talked about this, like, blocked a lot of shots, kind of took away the middle of the ice, frustrating the opposition, and if it wasn't for their goaltending, they would be down 3-4-0 right now. I mean, they didn't even play well in their own end like they have the last couple of games. So that's to me why I say it was such a bad period, let alone the fact that you're not getting any offense. But they really didn't play great. I thought that they had the one good penalty kill at the beginning of the period. I thought that was a solid effort defensively. But beyond that, not a lot good.
Not a lot of sustained pressure. Again, I had one of my keys earlier on Flyer Radio was play more in the O zone and less in the D zone. That didn't happen. Let's see. The one thing I said here, and I was hoping it happened, Boston to me still seems like a fragile team, and one thing bad that goes against them, it'll be interesting to see how they respond. I'm looking for that in this period.
Bundy, there was one thing I did want to ask you about. We're now a few games into Emil Andre being called up and being in the lineup. There have been a few questions about whether or not he was ready for this level and all that, but is there anything that you've seen out of him so far through a few games that have made you say, like, all right, cool, like the kid does something well?
He said a few things, Russ. I thought his first game was just okay. I thought the last two were fine, and tonight in the first period, I thought he could be a little bit better, just initially off what I saw. But, I mean, he just needs to keep his game simple. Get the puck stopped, move the puck efficiently, go D to D or up to the boards, and get up the ice. I mean, they want him to be a player. And I think so far he's done a really good job coming into the league and doing that.
If you were the Flyers at this point, I know that a lot of this is kind of predicated on Cam York being out. What does Andre have to do in your mind to warrant maybe being given the opportunity to extend his stay here once York is back?
Exactly what I said.
Yep.
Move the puck efficiently, add it to the offense, join the rush, and defend with passion. He's not a big guy. It's going to take work for him to get puck stopped and to get a stick on puck and get that play stopped. But I think he just needs to continue. When you get the puck, be assertive with it, make the right smart play. And I think that in this league, there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of defensemen. I think he can find himself a home if he keeps doing that and improving at it.
Have you gotten any kind of update there, Anthony?
Not a thing.
So, we're looking. Hold on, who's over in net over there? That does appear to be, that's Kolosov, I believe, came back out.
Well, is there a second goalie out there on the bench? Then it's Kolosov.
Kolosov 35, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kolosov's 35.
I
yeah.
can't see from all the way here, but I saw a 3 to start. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Kolosov.
All right.
Interesting.
So that's why I said, I mean, look, again, I'll call it
No backup on the bench.
experienced speculation. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen this enough. You've been around enough. You kind of know.
It's kind of, it's funny because sometimes you try to get a guy's number really quick just to see.
Yeah.
And he has done everything to turn the 5 away. Everything. Anyway.
It's definitely him.
So Kolosov is back out there to start. We shall see what happens in this period, and we'll be back for the second intermission show and post game. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the Snow the Goalie channel on YouTube, like the Facebook page, and follow us over on X. We will be back very soon. You can stick on the stream. We'll have StatCast up, and intern Andrew returns with the trivia question of the night. Talk to all of you very soon. Hi, hello, welcome into the Press Row Show. 2-0 through 2 periods. Gentlemen, the Flyers at least put up more shots on net in the second than they did in the first, but they're still getting outshot 21-12 in this game. Alexei Kolosov gives up a goal, and I'm going to throw it to you first. Your thoughts on that Kolosov allowed goal?
Yeah, that's a goal he probably wants to have back. I mean, it's not a horrible goal because it is from a high danger area there, but he had a clear look at it, and it beats him. It's probably one that, as a goalie, you sit there and go, yeah, I should make that stop. I thought that the Flyers were actually a little bit better offensively that period, Bundy. I thought that they had some sustained pressure for the first time. I mean, look, this is baby step stuff we're talking here, right? I thought that the second power play unit at the end of that power play they had was a really good shift. I thought that Noah Cates' line had a really good shift that period. And then Couturier had a great chance in front.
Morgan Frost.
Yeah, Morgan Frost had a chance on a play by Owen Tippett on the pass there. So there were some chances. Korpisalo made some nice saves. So, if you're looking for a positive, even though you gave up another goal and you're down 2 now, there was at least some semblance of life in the offensive zone.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that. It was much better. Again, though, it's really a struggle for the Flyers to get plays, to get the puck off the boards and make a play to the front of the net. The best chance they had that period was the Morgan Frost play with Tippett when I think it was Brandon Carlo blew a wheel, fell down, and that allowed a 2-on-1 in front of the net. The pass might have been about a 20th of a second too late. Yeah. But it was a great stop by Korpisalo nonetheless. But it's really a challenge for the Flyers, and they've really got to find a way to do so. Boston, the one thing with Boston, if you watch the last 10 minutes of that period, they were all out of sorts again. Like, they couldn't get the puck out of their own zone. And, if the Flyers take that and they get a little bit of a reminder here that the Bruins are still a fragile team, and they are. The Flyers could have had chances in that game to even tie this game, even when they were down 2-0. But they're going to have to find another gear and continue pushing, because Boston, this isn't the Boston team of 2 years ago. They're a fragile group, and you can tell just by watching them play. Yeah, I mean, and you knew that they were going to come into this game, with a little bit of an edge after getting shut out by the Flyers on Tuesday, getting blown out by Carolina on Thursday, and they did in the first period. They came out with a little bit of an edge, but it did seem to kind of wear off a little bit there in the second period, and so they are vulnerable in my mind. I don't think that even down 2-0 that this game is over. I think that the Flyers have a real opportunity to get back into this game, but you're right. It just seems like it's such a chore to get into the offensive zone get something set up. Get in and then stay in. Yes, it's a lot of one and done opportunities, and that is so frustrating. It's so frustrating being a player when you're especially a defenseman. You're hoping your forwards have some sustained pressure, and the Flyers' defense has been active. But there's just nothing to show for it. There's been a couple of good 10-bell chances, but 10 chances don't win you any hockey games. You got to put the puck in the net. Yes.
Now, I do want to throw this over. I saw something over on X, the site formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, what's that?
It was a tweet by a guy, Anthony SanFilippo. I believe he's broken some stories in the past. He's also got himself embroiled in controversies in the past, most notably for saying the Phillies were going to win the World Series. It says, I'll have a Sam Ersson update during the second intermission on Snow the Goalie, so join us. # Let's Go Flyers. You have an update on Sam Ersson? I do have an update on Sam Ersson. He is still being evaluated, but I am told by team sources that it is not a serious injury, and that they just didn't want to make it worse, which was why they took him out of the game at that time. They don't expect this to be anything that is long-term.
Okay.
So... All right. I'm sure we'll get another update after the game. I was not told whether this was upper body or lower body. I was just said
there was something that was put out here. Guys, I just saw. Did you see that? Somebody had. Here's a guy said Elliot Friedman had.
Oh no, I had that. I can't show it. It was just it was the thing that was shown on the telecast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was just showing that when Ersson came off the ice, he was kind of pointing down his leg.
Yeah, so we don't.
There were some people who were concerned that maybe he got hit in the head with a slap shot on a face-off, and that his eyes might have, kind of done the Roger Rabbit rolling back. But.
Yeah. No, we don't know what the injury is specifically, but I was told that nothing serious, and they didn't want to make it worse.
Well, the only thing I can say is I don't know either. He meant to make that kick save with his right foot.
Yeah.
When the shot went and he lost his blade on his skate.
Yeah.
And they came out and replaced the blade, played another shift.
Yeah.
And that's when he signaled to the trainer.
Yeah. So maybe something happened with the foot. It could be on the off the boot kind of thing. We'll see. We'll get a better update post game. But that is the update. So you can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief that it's not anything serious for Sam Ersson.
Now, I've noticed a few people in the comments talking about Matvei Michkov and his attempts to set up his teammates for success. I can't go back and pull all of them up, but Matty Sams here says, I'm ready for whenever we have the money to bring any offensive stud to pair with Michkov. What are your thoughts so far? Like, Bundy, I'll throw this to you first. You know, obviously we go into this and we say, you got to give Matvei Michkov a little bit of leeway here as a 19-year-old adjusting to the league. But there are flashes. His teammates don't always execute on where he puts them in advantageous positions.
No, it's a work in progress.
What do you look at?
He's trying to understand them, and they're trying to figure out him too. But you know, I think at times too, there's still a lot he's learning, and I think there's still a lot he's learning about the North American game. And I think that the only thing you can do that is to recreate the same scenario night after night for him. You know, just to get used to being in the league, learning players' tendencies, learning what he's able to do on this size ice in this type of league against these kind of players. So I think it's a work in progress. I think he shows signs sometimes where you're like, wow, you could really tell how brilliant he can be with that puck. And then there's times where he's still figuring it out. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment, to be honest with you.
And?
I'm just more interested in watching Andrew right now.
Stop staring into your illegitimate child's eyes and focus on the show.
I'm watching him watch Penn State.
Well, you know what we could do? We can bring him on the screen so he has to pay attention to
I told him before the game what the deal was.
Yeah, you did.
With just a very few select words.
Which we can't show on the press row show.
I understand.
Yeah.
We can know when we're off.
There was just a turnover. Penn State just got the ball back on a turnover. Wow. So I know.
Under review. It might have been incomplete. I'm not sure yet.
Oh, see?
Bundy, the thing that I don't get about James Franklin is they always say that he's this elite recruiter, but then they don't win big games. So it's like, is he actually as good of a recruiter and a bad coach? Or is he a mediocre recruiter, a decent recruiter?
So my future son-in-law played there for 4 years.
Be careful what you say
So
here.
I can't really say anything too bad. He was a 4-year starter, and he loves Penn State. And that's why I said the other night, let's, we are.
I want to before we're going to go to intern Andrew now for his trivia question, but so he can get back to watching the football game because we know that matters more than anything.
This clip going around, have you seen?
Yes,
we got to
talk about that too.
We certainly can't show that.
Yeah.
Or with the audio.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. But
I don't know anything about it.
You got to. Wait do you see it?
Person walked up to Kelsey.
Which one?
Got very Jason Kelsey got close to him. Called his brother a homophobic slur for dating Taylor Swift, which makes no sense. She's a woman.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
geez,
so Kelsey turned around and spiked the phone.
Well, good.
Which is going to be probably a bit of a headache for him now. But
those wonderful Penn State students, by the way.
I don't speak for everybody.
but I do
when
when we come back after the trivia question, I do want to talk a little bit about guys like Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee and Tyson Forster.
It was incomplete.
These guys have not really, and Owen Tippett, they're just not living up to what they need to do, and the fact that it's now going into a 12th game of this and what that means going forward. I'd like to dive into that.
That's a good tease.
Very, very tough on guys that when you're not scoring. I used to see guys that would come in that were required to score goals. I used to make a joke all the time. Not one time in my whole career did anyone ever ask me to score a goal, or did they ever care. It was a great feeling coming to the rink. But when goal scorers aren't scoring, that's when they start to press. They start doing things that they're trying to make things out of nothing, and that's usually what happens is you don't end up making anything out of it because you're trying to make a bad play and make something happen. So Owen Tippett, I would assume, is probably really gripping his stick pretty tight right now. He got paid that contract, and they paid him to be a secondary type of goal scorer, a guy that can really turn it on, be a 30-goal guy, and it's not happened yet. Forster's another one last year. I think he got 2 goals on the year, I think, Forster?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes, one of them was the other night against Boston.
Yeah, so you're right. So he's had, he's a guy that had over 20 goals last year. So you're always looking to match what the guy did the year before, and we're not seeing that right now, and that's frustrating.
Yeah. All right.
And now it's time for the moment that everyone waits for, the second intermission.
You have his music?
Intern Andrew with the trivia time.
All right. January 13th, 2020, Flyers Bruins, classic game actually. Flyers end up winning 6-5 in a shootout.
What was the date
What
again?
year?
January 13th, 2020.
Okay.
So this is right before the pandemic hits us.
Yeah.
Flyers win 6-5 in a shootout. It was a shootout that ended up going 5 frames. Flyers score in the top half of the frame, and in the bottom half, Brad Marchand.
Yeah, he fumbled the puck.
Just completely fanned on the puck, and
Beautiful
one of the
moment.
funniest ways I've ever seen the Flyers win. So,
Yeah.
who was the Flyer that ended up scoring the winning goal, and who was the Bruins goalie?
Ooh. The Bruins goalie wasn't Rask, was it?
No,
Morgan Frost had the winner.
no.
Why did I think Morgan Frost
Oh,
had
wow. So if it wasn't,
Kevin Hayes.
He actually did score in the shootout earlier, but it wasn't him.
Okay.
who could have Boston's goalie been if it wasn't Tuukka?
Who was the guy they had there when Tuukka was gone for a year? Remember he filled in?
Before Swayman
Yeah, before Swayman.
and before
Mark.
what's his name who just signed with Ottawa?
Who's the
Olmark.
guy who just went to Ottawa?
Olmark.
Olmark?
It's not over.
Not him. Tim Thomas
Wait,
didn't come back for a
wait
little
a
bit.
second. Is this a double dip trivia question
It actually is.
where you go back to a previous trivia question from earlier this week?
That's right.
So it was Yaroslav Halak.
That's correct. I actually didn't even know that when I wrote the
Wait,
question this morning.
So he's gotten a bad rap now for only focusing on games from like 2000 and beyond. And now he went back to the same period of time.
Well, no, it was not the same period of time. It was a decade later.
What was the first
It
question?
was a question about Montreal. Halak was the goalie in
2010.
2010. So it was a decade later.
You still don't have the Flyer, though.
No, we don't. We had to figure out the Flyer.
I mean, who would have been there? Giroux, Couturier,
Voracek.
Voracek, Scott Lawton, Kevin Hayes.
I think it's got to be somebody like a little bit more
It couldn't
obscure.
have been JVR.
No.
Konechny.
Somebody a little. Oh, was it TK?
Travis Konechny.
I mean, I just
Oh.
guessing. I didn't know that. I just threw out whoever was here.
I thought maybe the trivia question was going to go a little bit like the Flyer was a little bit more obscure than the
Yeah.
Bruins.
Flyers were playing very well then, too.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They were the hottest team going into the bubble.
Russ and I were down here. That's when we started the Press Row show.
No, we started the
Well,
press
the year
show in-
before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 2018.
18,
It
19.
was 18-19.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was
that would have been the
1920.
1920. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second
So,
year.
yeah, second year of the Press Row show. And we were doing these things every game, and it was like, this team's the best team in hockey right now. Like, we really felt like that the way they were
They were
playing.
playing the best, but they weren't the best.
No,
team in
obviously
hockey.
they
were
weren't,
not,
right?
yeah.
But you were watching them night in, night out going, this team's legit. Like, this team's got a shot.
And then everything resumed,
then-
and they won that stupid round robin.
Yeah, and then once
They
it went
beat
to the
that
bubble.
Montreal. Remember Montreal beat Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
No, Montreal beat
and then-
Pittsburgh.
Well, eventually.
Pittsburgh.
In the bubble?
Yeah, but didn't
First they had to beat the Canadian teams. No, Montreal in the bubble, Canadian teams only played each other.
I thought Montreal beat
Oh,
Toronto.
no. I think I got you guys on this. No, the original bubble in 2020, there was the 4 teams that got the bye into the first round, and then you had like the Canadians had to play Pittsburgh in the first
No,
round.
but you had to play a
It
round
was a
robin.
round
The
robin.
Flyers
The
played a
Flyers
round
won the round robin
robin
and
to
got the
reseed.
top seed in the conference.
Yeah, I know. And then the first round, the round of 16 teams, was against the Canadians. The Canadians had to win a play-in series.
That's
against
right.
the
You're right.
Penguins.
You're right about that. I'm thinking of the next year.
Thank
Look
you.
at Mr. Mr.
I'm back.
Hotshot over here with the
No, you're right.
stats.
I was thinking of the next year.
He's performing better than the Nittany Lions tonight.
Yeah.
20-13 Ohio State now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Drew Aller got a man up on this next
I think
one.
that means that Penn State needs a touchdown and the extra
Are we
point.
surprised
Yeah.
by this?
Russ, how long are you going pros game tonight?
Yeah. I might actually only go like 3 minutes and leave. I'll leave it to you two.
You got to get home and get the old Sam Ace Rothstein show on tonight?
Stop. That show doesn't happen until Tuesday and Friday mornings at 8:30 on the Russ Joy Show.
We're
YouTube.
sorry.
So-
you weren't here, so we decided to blow you
No,
up.
I
the other day.
heard. Oh, don't worry. I went back and I watched and I listened to the show. I know. I know all about everything that was said.
Oh, well, Andrew, thank you. Good trivia question. You can
Yeah.
go back to your nits. We'll talk to you later. So just to get back to the whole Frost, Farabee, Forster,
Disaster.
Tippett conversation. Obviously, all 4 of them are in different stages, right? I mean, you signed Owen Tippett long term. He's obviously going to be here. Tyson Forster's just in his second season, so he's still going to be here. But guys like Frost and Farabee, at what point do you sit there and go, there's just nothing. There's just nothing else with these guys.
I was sitting there thinking, Frost, he's just a second half player.
He doesn't start playing until January.
He doesn't
right?
start playing until January.
Yeah.
Believe me, there's lots of guys like that, but that's where he seems to do his production, right?
Yeah.
Second half. I mean, many years now we've seen, like, we hadn't seen a lot early, but Forster's another. See, for me, Forster, and again, it's not a diss on him. He's not a natural goal scorer.
And they tried to force feed him last year to get to 20.
Well, my joke was, right, like I said, find me a coach that loved me as much as John Tortorella loves Tyson Forster. Like, they did everything they could to get him 20 goals last year. They put him on power play, and he wasn't scoring. But he finally broke through. So, again, when you put that production out, Tyson Forster's thinking to himself, can I actually get to 20 goals again? Because that's what they're probably expecting. It's brutal when you're not scoring and you're expected to score goals, especially secondary scoring.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I mean, look, they're obviously going to be here for a little while. You're not trading guys in November. But I just wonder.
Farabee, they have to add. Well, their problem is, like, Farabee's a guy that in the past would have had interest, but his play has really fallen off.
Yeah. Like,
in a significant way where, like, you actively need to see him get some kind of good string of games putting anything of value together.
Yeah.
I never looked at him as being like a particularly great or fast skater.
No.
But when I see him with like a 50-50 opportunity for the puck, he looks like he's like in quicksand.
Yeah. That's a matter of will, just wanting to get that puck out. I'll answer this question.
Yeah,
for the
you want to answer that question, Bundy? Bundy, why did you pick number 6?
So my first training camp with the Flyers, I went into camp as number 40. But the good thing was, I don't know how they knew, they put me in with the veterans right away. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. But I still had number 40. So I went down for the lockout, and I came back, and my jersey was hanging for the game, and it was number 6. And I'm like, well, I knew when I had number 6. So they gave me 6 for me. They picked number 6 for me, and I knew when I had number 6 that the rest was history because
they gave you a low number, right?
A low number defenseman number when I came up, and so that was pretty much. They don't tell you made it, but you can always tell by the jersey you have and the number. Hope that helps answer a little bit.
So you never really, did they ever ask you if you wanted to change it from that, or?
No, I was happy to have 6. There's been a lot of great 6s in the past that been here, and no, I was happy. Moose DuPont wore it. I mean, I always look back right away to see whoever wore the number. Or Jeff Chikrin had worn it. He's a friend of mine now. So, that's how I got the number 6. It was chosen for me.
How about that?
And it's become my lucky number. So
how
about that? Yeah,
it's good stuff.
All right, we will be back post-game here on the Press Row Show. If you haven't done so already, like the video, share the video, and subscribe on YouTube. And you can check in on X and Facebook. We'll talk to you post-game. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. And the Flyers lost 3-0, outshot, what was it, 31 to 19? What was it?
That's what I saw.
31 to 20? 31 to 20. It was a lopsided game. Even the final shots don't really give an indication. And, well, you combine that with an expected Penn State loss, as we told intern Andrew, and there's one question left, Bundy, and I believe it was this.
What happened there?
What happened? What happened, intern Andrew? We're gonna let's bring the young man on. Anthony's over here writing the AP story, so he's dead to us for a little bit. Intern Andrew, how you feeling over there?
It's a sad day. It's a bad day. Ohio State totally dominated the line of scrimmage, and despite all of that, they still had two huge chances right at the goal line. You had the Aller interception right before the half, and then on 4th and goal, they elect to pass for some reason. I don't know. They have the best running back duo in the country in Singleton and Katron Allen. They combined for 42 yards.
Says you.
Yes. Combined for 42 yards on the ground today. It's like I keep talking myself into thinking that they can beat Ohio State, and they keep failing.
So back to hockey.
Thank you for that. That's it. That's your football walk for the day.
We had the intern on so much during the show today. Now, I do want to throw to something that we were looking at a little bit earlier, Bundy, and you just look at some of the stats today. 31 shots on goal versus 20. Boston, better on faceoffs. Penalty minutes, virtually identical. When you look at this game as a whole, it never felt like the Flyers were really actively in it. They had, 5 shots at the end of the first period?
Yeah.
They more than doubled that in the second period. But ultimately, they didn't do nearly enough tonight. And the thing that we started talking about during the second intermission show, which I think maybe we pull forward to post-game, and eventually when Ant is able to join us, there have to be some concerns now about the lack of progression and the lack of performance right now. You can name whichever players you want, but Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, Tyson Forster, that 4 just to name.
Yeah.
Not ideal, not a great.
And those guys are entering their age of like being the core of the team, right? And they need to be better, and they have not. And again, I don't know if it's an early season slide for them. I don't know, Russ. But again, I said it's hard to score goals. It's even harder when you have an expectation that you have to score goals. And that's a problem right now because they're gripping their sticks too tight. But again, I think you have to look, to be really honest, you have to look at the talent level. Ultimately at the end of the day, what does this team have? Why is it been mired in the doldrums of the middle of the road for a while? And I think you have to, when guys show up and they play games like this, that's your measuring stick of who those guys are. And there's no reason Boston's players had to be any better than the Flyers did. I don't think Boston played great after the first period. I thought they played a good first 20, and I thought they just kind of coasted the last 40. And I got news for them. They can't do that. If they had a 2-0 lead today and they played a team that had a system, they were rolling right now, Boston would have lost this game again today. But the Flyers couldn't score. They couldn't really manufacture any kind of a sustained attack, and that's troublesome. It's a real problem because you lose team confidence when you feel like your team can't score goals consistently.
We will go to we'll come back to the young forwards not performing, but obviously a big concern coming out of this one happened early-ish in the first period. Sam Ersson, it appears, loses the blade on his skate. We don't get any real confirmation.
It's a lower body injury.
Okay. Wow. Okay, we're back.
That's all it is.
Anthony jumps in here.
Well, I got a message that it's a lower body injury.
Any severity?
No. I told you that. I reported that at second intermission.
You did.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you had any more. Because
Yeah.
there were people that were initially concerned that there was like a slap shot that might have hit Ersson in the mask and that maybe he had a concussion.
Lower body.
But lower body. So he lost the blade on the skate. Trainers came out. They seemed to be adjusting it. And then at the next stoppage, he came out of the game. Alexei Kolosov enters the game. Tough spot for a goalie to be in.
I thought he played okay. I mean, like I said, the one goal, the second goal was probably one he would prefer to have back. I mean, but it wasn't like an egregiously bad goal. It was just one like, okay, you should make that save. But other than that, like, he made 20 saves.
Yeah.
You know, in relief in a game that he wasn't expecting to play. You know, only his second appearance at the NHL level. I mean, give the kid credit, right, Bundy? I mean, I think that's a positive you could take out of it.
I actually look at that as a positive. Yeah, I don't think he played that bad at all. I mean, the one goal that was shot was, you know, right in the seam, tough through traffic. But I don't think I looked at the goaltending today. That was not the issue in the game at all. It was the Flyers' lack of offense.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. Agree. It's becoming epidemic. Like, it's throughout the lineup at this point.
It is, and you expect their power play to get good things going. That's gone south on them too now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it started off so well the first 3-4 games.
3-4, yeah, they had a point streak.
Yeah, nothing really good since. So, penalty kill's still okay. I mean, but there weren't a lot of. Boston didn't have a lot of chances today on the power play.
Tony Louis is right here, but you can't think like that. Like, we went to Sealer last year, right? We were talking about Nick Sealer being, he was at one time being a $4.5 million defenseman. And we were like, there's just no way you can pay him that. And they didn't. They got a deal they thought was fair. You know, again, third pair defenseman, number 7 guys. I don't want to say they're making 2.5, but they're making close to that. Nick Sealer, you know, brings a lot of intangibles too. We haven't seen a ton yet this year, but I was fine with that number for him.
I want to read that really quick for the people who are in the podcast feed, because we get a few thousand people that, for whatever reason, enjoy the Press Row Show post-game so much that they download it and they listen to it. And so Tony Louis said over on YouTube, why give Hathaway a 2-year extension, Paling a 2-year extension, Sealer 4 years? Now teams aren't going to want those guys at the deadline because they're not rentals. They have term left. I still think, you know, Bundy, you kind of said it there, but, like, they still have value. None of the deals.
I agree.
None of the deals are inherently bad. Like Paling, you could absolutely see a team wanting. Hathaway, you could absolutely see a playoff-bound team wanting.
Yeah.
Sealer.
Sealer's
okay.
Sealer's fine.
He's okay. Sealer. Okay. Look, he's going to be here.
He's going to be here.
I think
right.
it's more the term than the money.
Well, but even that, I mean, I don't mind Nick Sealer in 3 years being your number 5, number 6 defenseman. Like, I'm okay with that. That's just, I mean, like, that's okay. But he's got to be that. He can't be your 3-4.
Which is
where he's playing right now. Yeah. Right? I mean, and so in a rebuild year, you can look at it and go, yeah, all right, fine, whatever. He plays in that spot, it's okay. But he's not a problem. I mean, he's far from the issue with this team, you know, on the back end. There are other players back there that are a bigger concern to me than Nick Sealer. Jamie Drysdale is a concern. Yeah,
it's a huge concern.
I mean, but again, he's young, and
he's been around a while, and that's where people's concerns are, right? Like, he's played a lot of games in this league for a young guy,
and he's also been hurt. When he's not hurt, he's iffy, and when he's like, it's a concern. The only reason that right now there isn't a bigger public outcry or backlash is because Cutter Gauthier hasn't, like, racked up the points. But if and when that starts to happen, if Drysdale continues to play like this, the dissenters are going to get louder.
Yes, but I mean, here's the thing. It's like everybody wants to get mad at what the team is right now, but the team is what it is right now because it's in the spot that it's in, rebuilding, right? So, and the notion, I see a couple people saying nobody wants these players, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there are players on this team who maybe Flyers fans don't particularly like that other teams would take. You know, when the time comes, and the fact that we're talking about trades at the beginning of November is asinine because it rarely happens at this time of year, right? So you're really got to, you know, we're going to do this for 3 months. Like, I mean, okay, but the fact of the matter is that there are players on this team who you might not think have value to you or to the Flyers, but that other teams will value, and you'll get something for them. So let's keep that in mind. You know, obviously, certain guys with term and with contracts, it becomes a little bit different of a conversation. How does that work? But if you only have a year left, like even if it's like this year and next year, like that's still a tradable contract. You know, and there are guys who are there that the Flyers will try to move this year, and I think we'll get you something.
That would be the plan, I would assume, right?
Yeah, and I think Scott's right. I mean, he says a third of these players will not be here when the team is out of the rebuild and contending in 3 years. He's spot on. And it might even be even more than a third. If we're being completely honest with ourselves If you say, okay, well, there's 18 skaters that played in this game tonight, will 6 of them be here in 3 years? No. And I could sit here and argue that there's a good chance that of the other 12, there's probably even a few more that won't be here in 3 years. Right? So it's probably going to be even more than a third. So that's the thing with hockey. It turns over like that, right? And so, it's one thing. Look, if we were 3 years from now and this was your roster, then you have everybody could be screaming their heads off and be right to be doing so. Yeah. But I mean, at this point, it's a little bit early to complain about that aspect of it. It's not a good team, but you have to be this bad if you are rebuilding.
Now, I do want to kind of pull this back. So we gave some kudos to Kolosov for coming in a not opportune situation, playing pretty well. Ersson, whether he's going to be out for a little bit or not at all, we know what he is. Fedotov maybe gets a look here. And you mentioned during pregame, Fedotov maybe goes on a conditioning assignment. This is prior to Sam Ersson getting hurt.
Yeah.
That maybe he could go get 4 games or maybe 5 games with the Phantoms over a 2-week stretch coming up. So in theory, Fedotov might be getting some looks. So the goaltending taken out of this equation. We talked about defense. We said Sealer maybe being miscast, but is what he is. Drysdale is what he is. It's a work in progress. You hope they're gonna pull the nose up. When you guys look at the forward core, the thing that seems to be the biggest deficiency, like if you were actually talking about this team as trying to be a potential playoff contender, is up the middle. Are there any emergency levers that this team can pull at center that could maybe get anything going?
No. It's just the state of what it is.
You just cannot go buy a number 1 center.
No,
I'm not even saying a number 1.
You can't get one. Then you got to. If you can't even get a number 2 center right now.
Yeah. I mean, you have to
draft that player.
Well,
I think
yes,
so.
you do. I mean, you can eventually go get that guy in free agency, but you can't do it now.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's not.
The shame is they don't have anybody even with the Phantoms who you'd say, all right, it might be a stretch. He's still young, and you might throw him into the fire. But
their lack of depth at the position is pretty alarming. She is so adorable, that little girl. Look at that.
A new generation of Flyers fans.
That was real. She was adorable.
They got to experience what it is to be a Flyers fan.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing there, and that's more of an indictment of where this organization has been, in the last 4 or 5 years, as opposed to, right now. I mean, there's not a lot you can do about that now. Yeah, I would argue that they're probably thinking top of the draft next year, we got to go get a center. You got to go get one.
Especially if they're drafted way up high, right?
Well, you don't know where they're going to pick, right? No one really knows where they're going to pick. Right. Yeah, I mean, this team can fall anywhere from winning the lottery to 10, right? I mean, there's so many bad teams in hockey. So that's the other thing. Like, I want to point this out because I know Russ goes off on this all the time about being.
I thought we were doing a short post game.
No, we are. But here's one thing I want to point out, and this is crazy to me. We know how much scoring has been up in the NHL in recent years, right? I looked it up because I was like, oh man, the Flyers aren't scoring. How bad is it? You know that they're 11th in goals. I mean, 11th from the bottom. There are 10 teams worse than them in goals per game. Like, how bad is that? So the league is bad.
The league's bad.
Like, there's a lot of bad teams and bad hockey. So you could be a bad team and still not be, top of the lottery type of teams.
Yeah.
It's really bad this year.
The thing is, too, if guys like, if guys like Tippett, can't find that scoring touch again, the year gets longer and longer, right? I mean, this was another really important game today. Like when you look at the standings, because you get yourself one game under 500, right? Going out on the road trip. Now you got a really tough road trip coming up.
Yep. You
got to go ahead to Carolina to start it, and then you go to Florida from there, I think.
Tampa first, and then Florida.
Right. Now that's no walk in the park right there. That's 6 available points.
That's a tough trip.
Right. So the Flyers right now really staring down the barrel. And they're not in a good spot right now because they need to get out of this, because that's when the chase starts. The chase has already started. Like, it's already going. We used to say they used to wait till middle of December when teams would kind of like let the water settle where it usually would. Everything would level itself out, but it's not like that anymore. Every game is just so important. Look at Boston. They came in here desperate today with the same record the Flyers. The Boston Bruins, before this game, had the exact same record as the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah.
Exact same.
They were both 4-6-1 coming in, yeah.
Yep.
I do have an update here. This is our first update of the year, now after game number 12. Predictions points. Ant has 4, which has him in last. Bundy and I tied for second with 5. Intern Andrew, for I believe the first time this year, has taken sole possession of first place.
Hey, speaking of intern,
and
Andrew,
you know what? Well, I was going to hit him with a little bit of praise and a little stat because I know that he's a big stat guy.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, but should we pull him up on the screen to get his reaction?
On the screen. So,
Okay,
so intern Andrew, you have the lead. And now I have a stat for you. Penn State head coach James Franklin is now 1-10 against Ohio State, 1-14 against top 5 opponents, 3-18 against top 10 opponents, 13-27 against ranked opponents.
It's no Joe Paul.
We called him a fraud. Intern Andrew was very upset. But I mean, Penn State has gone, and these are all from John Marks, I saw over on Twitter. Penn State has gone 13-26 against ranked opponents in James Franklin's 11 seasons. Starting in 2014, 0-2, 0-3, 2-2, 2-2, 1-3, 3-3, 0-1, 2-5, and then here are the last 3 years: 1-2, 1-3, and currently 1-1. Your thoughts, intern Andrew?
Oh, that's brutal.
This sucks.
You just got a little bite of reality there, didn't you?
Yeah, I can't defend him right this second because they lost.
Well, you're gonna have to wait another year to try again.
They can still win a playoff game.
And now that there's 38 teams in the playoffs, sure.
There's 12.
That's the new Penn State fight song. We'll still make the playoff.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's not
It's
anymore.
hard. It's hard to beat Ohio State. They don't lose a lot.
No, I know. In front of 120 of your own fans, it's no big deal.
Legitimately had a yard to gain.
I don't know what
And they
you want me to do.
threw it on 4th down.
I thought you were going to praise intern Andrew.
I did. He's leading the predictions.
Oh, okay.
I am,
Yeah.
I was going to give him praise for something else.
I'm
All
just
about
pouring
balance.
gas.
We're about balance here.
I will be boots on the ground next week. I will be at Beaver Stadium for the Washington game.
Tickets are going to be cheaper now. I told you. I warned you. I said you should have sold them and then bought them back.
You could probably get 90s student section prices for that game.
What's
You
your
want to
praise?
tell everybody about his new Twitter handle?
Yes. So Andrew had a really stupid Twitter handle before. It was at Andrew_Henry5, which was hard to find.
Well, that's because there was probably 4 other Andrew Henrys.
It was just not a great handle. It doesn't flow. But now we can officially report that intern Andrew has changed his Twitter handle to at intern Andrew. And guys, roaring round of applause. Simplicity rules the day.
That's good.
I picked up a couple new follows since then.
See that?
I promoted you.
Just to let you
I put a tweet out
I saw
letting
that.
people know.
Thank you.
So.
We've already been here so long that the ice is almost covered for the Sixers game tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot. We got to get out of here. The
Yeah, we
Sixers are
do.
coming up. All right, guys, we'll be back. What's the next home game?
I think
Is
it's Monday,
Is it
right?
Tuesday?
Monday the 11th, I think.
Well,
The 11th, San Jose has it.
I will not be here.
Oh, that's Monday the 11th.
That's because I will be on my honeymoon.
Good stuff, Ant.
And
We'll be celebrating that for you. And
Yeah.
Anthony or Andrew, you get ready to step up, kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a good chance I won't be there either because
You
I
might
have
get.
a, I
You,
have a
we'll
work
have to talk.
conference, so it might
We'll be
just
talking
be you
to.
too.
No, we'll talk to Meltzer. Meltzer will probably jump
I'll
in.
just have Bill come on.
Yeah, we'll probably
Yeah.
we'll get
Which
Meltzer
will
on.
actually that'll make it an informative telecast without
It'll be
Tweedledee
Bundy,
and Tweedle.
intern Andrew, and Bill Meltzer.
What?
That would be a heck of a
Wait,
show.
where are you going to be?
I have
He's
a
always
work- I have a
got
work
he's got
conference up in New
issues.
York.
He's got issues.
That's all right. Whatever. We'll get
Whatever.
it.
Got a lot of meetings
I just
coming
need
up.
someone to set this up. You guys let me know how to do it because you're asking me to do tech stuff.
No,
You're
we're going to
gonna
put
be
it on
screwed.
intern Andrew. He's got to know by this point.
I love
He's
these.
been around for long enough.
It's going to be a short show.
I love these
Intern
people.
Andrew, a very
I'll host it
intern
if you want.
Andrew SanFilippo. Your illegitimate child. All right.
love it.
Well, illegitimate is how we can also describe the Flyers' performance tonight. But they'll be back at it soon. Big thank you to everybody who tuned in. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to Snow the Goalie on YouTube and ring the bell so you're notified whenever we go live because we'll have an episode of Snow the Goalie this week.
Yep.
In the absence of the Press Row Show. So for Bundy on Twitter at Therien6, Ant at AntSanPhilly, I'm Russ at Joy on Broad, and intern Andrew on Twitter at intern Andrew. Thanks for listening or maybe even watching the Press Row Show. We will talk to all of you very, very soon. Have a great day, everybody.